Good morning. This is Carl Dakin, and this is the Successful Funding Show. Uh, The show covers topics related to funding, usually focused on small business and community projects, but open to discussion on pretty much anything that is of interest to anyone about raising money for a local charity, a community project of different shapes, sizes, and forms, businesses at different sizes at different stages of maturity. Um, my focus or preference is to work with a small business that is looking to scale up, typically after they have completed all the available funding they can find from friends and family. And now they need to turn to people outside of this group, mostly people they don't know, and tell their stories in a way that can effectively and efficiently bring them the funding they need to grow up and be all they can be. So today, our topic is going to be on education. My guest, Emiliano de Laurentiis, with Knowledge Avatars, will be joining me shortly as he is completing a travel stage. And Emiliano has his own company called Knowledge Avatars. He and I have worked together over the last several years dealing with issues of education, primarily in my, of course, interest, targeted on the topics of entrepreneurship and funding. And towards that, we have achieved, for me, as an example, we have created a online artificial intelligence avatar called CAP, which is available on my website. And as you can see on the screen here to my right, this is CAP. There's a QR code there. You can go there now while I'm talking, and you can see the avatar in action. And to explain this and give you a greater depth of what we're talking about is we have created basically a bucket of knowledge on the topic of entrepreneurship and funding. And we have put it in a computer program, which is an artificial intelligence because of the way it is structured and the way it operates. So even though we put a facade on it, which has more than a casual resemblance to myself, it is a computer program. And this is built as a learning management system on top of the OpenAI ChatGPT system so that we can put into this bucket of knowledge information that is not available through ChatGPT or OpenAI. It is selected information by me about funding to provide specialty information and knowledge that's not generally available elsewhere. And with that, um, we have Emiliano joining us as I talk. Um, and there he is. So
Good
I'm going
morning.
to switch screens here. There's Emiliano. Good morning.
Good morning.
You have a beautiful blue sky behind you, but I'm suspecting that that's a green screen.
I don't know how that came about, but that's what it is. It's better than nothing, I suppose.
Yeah, no, every time I do a program like this, it is a bit of a adventure because in some ways, like Forrest Gump, it's a box of chocolates and you're never quite sure what you're going to get. But I was just explaining, Emiliano, as you were getting in a position to join us today, that you and I have worked on the CAP AI avatar, and that this is a active, available AI avatar that you can go to at my website on dakincapital.com. You can use the QR code to jump to the specific page on the website where CAP is located. And you can ask CAP questions about entrepreneurship and funding, and you will get an answer. And it's free. And he's there 24/7 every day of the year when I'm sleeping or in meetings or doing something else. And you're going, wow, I had this question about entrepreneurship and funding. Maybe I could just go online and ask Cap that question, get an answer, and do this to satisfy your need for information and do it immediately all the time, anywhere you have access to the internet. So that kind
I
of
hear,
sets the
I hear he's
table.
pretty smart too.
Yeah, he's getting smarter. Let's put it this way. And the day that I learned that he could speak Spanish, I knew that he was smarter than me because I'm still a single language person. Um, but today's topic for the Successful Funding Show, CAP is going to kind of be the illustration that Emiliano and I can refer to throughout the program. But we're talking about the role of education in business. And this is a very important topic for so many different reasons that we may not cover them all today. But um, uh, all of us are in a continuous learning cycle, whether we want to be or not. We'd like to stick our head in the sand and say that time stands still, and we don't want to learn one more thing because we're already just overloaded and overwhelmed with everything. But that isn't the way the world works, and so every time you get up in a day and think about what you need to do, there's probably one or more things you have to learn today to keep up with what's going on in the world, what's going on in your market, what's going on in your business, and in particular, any of the new tools, including artificial intelligence, that you may want to learn and adapt to your business to make your life hopefully a little bit better. But this is where education is something that too often we just take it for granted. We don't provide a strategy for our integration of education into the business, to use it efficiently, to take advantage of it. And at the same time, there are so many things we can do with education, not only to support our own learning and our own operations, but to improve support to our customers who are out there. And we'll dive into this, but I'm right now, I think I'm learning 5 or 6 different computer software apps, software as a system, you name it, whatever it is that we want label, we want to stick to it. And I'm trying to figure out how to use them so I can do my job to help me do programs like this to better communicate, to provide better services to my clients. And all too often, the information on this particular new tool is somewhere between inadequate to completely non existent. And to me, as an entrepreneur, it is extraordinarily frustrating. But as an entrepreneur, it presents an opportunity to put out new products, which are educational in nature, or to supplement our products with educational tools, programs, and so forth, so that we can do a better job. So, with that, Emiliano, thanks for being with me as my guest this morning and as one of the leading experts on the application of artificial intelligence to the practice of teaching and instruction. Please provide a little bit of background about yourself and about knowledge avatars, and then we'll dive into this challenge of how can we best apply education to the doing of business for everyone.
Thank you for having me, Carl. It's always a pleasure. And it is very education, we do education in a very traditional way. Even today, we're still a very traditional process of how people are educated. And I'll tell you a story. A couple of days ago, I went for a walk at Vassar College, which is here in the Hudson Valley, and it was a beautiful day. And as I was walking along the college in this beautiful bucolic environment, I thought to myself, "Wow, wouldn't it be fun to become a student again?" and so I thought, so I started imagining, talking to my friend about it. How about becoming a student again, at least part time? And then I started getting the anxiety of becoming a student. I started remembering that it's not just about learning, but it's about also the testing and the quizzing and the trying to understand and trying to understand the professor, trying to understand the book, and all the anxiety that came with that. and I think that it's about time that we look at different models of learning, and particularly in business, because in business, people don't necessarily want to sit down. They don't have the time to sit down and take a course, and that's why people don't want to learn. Like as you said earlier, people want to be frozen in time, and in fact, the studies have been done on doctors, and the longer a person is a practicing doctor, the less up to date they are, because it is so complicated to keep up with all the journals and all the information that they have to keep up with. And so what kind of model of education can we have that does not impinge on your time, or that is more natural in how we learn? Because schools are really not that natural. I mean, if you look at how children learn a language, for example, or how children learn anything when they're babies, and then young children, um, they learn through curiosity, testing the environment, making mistakes, getting feedback about those mistakes, and then going on to the next thing. But I think in order to be industrial, and through the industrial age has created this environment where we wanted to educate as many people as possible in the same way, so that they were ready for the workforce, and that is not how people learn. People learn in a much more organic way, based on their curiosity and what it is that they need at any particular time. And that is why I created Knowledge Avatars. Knowledge Avatars is a project that started some years ago, and even before OpenAI, before the current chatbots. It's more. It's in fact it's more than a chatbot, because it is a system that has DNA built into that has education built into its DNA. The whole idea of Knowledge Avatars is that you have just-in-time learning. You get what you need at the moment. It has a pedagogical system built in that I call feed, stands for feedback, examples, experiences, and definitions. And those are all. And it's telling me that we're not connected. We're still
Connected. You
connected.
froze up for a moment, but I could hear you continue to talk, so you're fine.
Okay. Did I lose you for a second there?
Just for a second, but
Did I
you're
lose you,
back.
Carl? Okay.
You're still there.
I'm going to change locations. Okay, good. I'm just going to change locations.
Yep, we're good. So this is an important thing, and I think that you pointed out that we reached a point way back when we wanted to teach a large number of people a large volume of information, and we adopted industrial processes as a way to achieve that. And what occurred was you would have all these students come into a classroom, one teacher, several students, and you would give them all the same information at the same time. and it followed the process of batch manufacturing. And as a result, everybody was given the same information regardless of who they were, what they already knew, what their speed of learning, their style of learning, all these other things, because at that time, that was the most efficient way to move all this knowledge into the heads of all the different people in the classroom. And then as we advanced education, this went to higher and larger volumes, up through high school into institutes of higher education, where you would find an instructor at the front of the room with 200 students sitting there listening to lecture with little or no interactivity taking place during the lecture. It was a one sided conversation. And the students were required, and still are today, to give up their lives, to give up their work, and go to a central location where they could be in the presence of the person who was providing the instruction. This cost and disruption in the lives of the individuals in order to gain education became the norm, and still is viewed by many as a mandatory path for advancing one's life and one's career. Um, and Emiliano is back, but I'll finish my thought here in that, uh, yes, at one point it made sense to engage in this large batch oriented, centralized type of educational process. But as Emiliano commented earlier, this isn't ordinary, natural way of learning. This was an industrial attempt to move as much knowledge to as many people as possible with what was then the currently available technology. With the internet, things have changed. We can now move back to continuous learning instead of batch learning. We can move to individual learning instead of group learning, even though there are advantages to cohorts and working with people as teams or learning as a team. We have more options today. And the thing that I think is most important about what I have learned in working with Emiliano and his work at Knowledge Avatars is the concept that he described as just in time learning. We, in order, in the industrial process, we would say that in order for you to get one article of information that you may need, one piece of knowledge to do something that you want to do, you had to buy a semester long package of information, which included information that you may not care about, you may never use, that may be completely useless to you. And in fact, trying to learn it along with the one item you needed might actually discriminate or impair your ability to pick up that one item. And worse yet, in today's rapidly moving technical world, I may want to learn this one item to do something today and have no need of that information ever again. I may be one and done.
Right.
And tomorrow, this information could be obsolete and of no value whatsoever. So, why would I today want to burden myself with learning more than I need about something that may be technically obsolete tomorrow? And so, the just in time concept with an avatar caught my attention. And when people come to me, like as consultant, as an advisor, as the capital coach, and go, Carl, what about this? I did some advisory work for a student team yesterday on opportunity zones as a way of potentially pointing money into distressed economic areas. Well, that's good. I gave them information. I answered questions of the students on the call yesterday. All good. But I didn't make them sit down in a classroom, uh, travel to that classroom, learn about opportunity zones for 3 months, and get all this information, which continuously has been changed year in, year out to try to make this legislation work better. So the information provided today is going to be dated tomorrow and maybe useless in a year from now by a change of legislation, by how it's implemented, or some other factor. So I was interested in Emiliano's approach to find how can I put information in a bucket that can be updated continuously so it's always current, but I can limit how much information I need to get to what I need to do the next task on my desk and not give me information for the next 5 years. And I'm very pleased with where we have gotten to with this, with CAP, and Emiliano is working with a number of other groups who are doing things similar to what I wanted to do, which is to provide this just-in-time information. But to this extent, I'm still talking about it up here. And Emiliano, I want to dive down into specific examples of why just-in-time information can be used in different applications within a business setting to make life a little bit better for everybody.
Yeah. I'm sorry about my technical difficulties. What did you miss? Did you hear the part where when I was talking about the pedagogy or how the system teaches?
No, we didn't get to that. We lost
Okay,
you before you got to that level of detail. But yeah, go ahead and provide that as a foundation
yeah.
for answering my question.
So what is one of the things that is built into the DNA of knowledge avatars is that it knows how to teach. So even if you are not a good teacher, it helps it helps you to structure the content in a way that makes it more efficient for somebody to learn it. It's a very student-centric system. So how do people learn? They learn by generalizations. You want to develop a generalization of a concept, of an idea. So, for example, if you want to learn about uh, budgeting, what is budgeting? So that's a generalization. But then, how do we actually learn those concepts? We learn it through examples, many examples. So if you have many examples of different ways of budgeting or different budgeting strategies, then you develop more of a understanding of that concept. And we also learn through feedback. By feedback, it means that you could ask you ask somebody a question and they tell or you give somebody a statement and they'll tell you, oh, you're right, you've understood this concept, you now understand what a budget is. And these are all the kinds of things that you can do with a knowledge avatar's AI bot. You can interact with it, have a conversation at different levels. You can have a low level conversation, meaning that you can just ask a what's a budget, you know, or you can go, or you can dive a little deeper. Can you give me an example of a budget that has these characteristics? So you can go, and which is the kind of thing that you would do with a tutor, right? With a tutor, with a live human tutor, you try to you start dabbling in a particular to learn a particular thing, and you may have you may have an interest, you may have a specific need, but then as you learn more and more questions come up, and that is how that's how anything is. So, for example, if you're learning chess, at first you just want to learn how to set up the board, how do the pieces move, how do you win in chess? These are just very low level questions. But then, as you get deeper into it, well, how should I strategize? What should my first opening moves be? What can I do to make it more likely that I'll win further down the road? So all these things. That's how people normally learn anything, and knowledge avatars bots are designed to do that. And now you may think, well, that seems pretty complicated. How complicated is it to train a knowledge avatar bot? Well, they're not complicated at all. You can have a bot ready in 5 minutes, for whatever topic you want, because it draws from the wealth of knowledge from the internet, right? It draws from that knowledge, but then you can start training with your own curriculum, with your own ideas, your own images, your own videos, your own words, and as you add more and more of that material, then it becomes more of a digital twin of you, and that's the whole idea of a knowledge avatar. It's an avatar of your knowledge, and that is that is the purpose of that is our goal, to have, for everybody to be able to have their own knowledge avatar, so that it teaches the content that you wanted to teach, the way that you want it to teach, to be taught. And
Well,
yeah,
yeah,
and we're working very closely also very soon. We have a bot that looks like you, Carl. In a few months, we're going to give that capability to everybody at a very low cost, and so that's something that we're working on right now. We'll be able to customize the voice as well, and just again to create an environment where that is friendly. You know, even now we can give it different personalities, so that it becomes like some people say, a digital twin or a doppelganger of your persona.
this is a very important distinction, something that um, most people who are not familiar with avatars, with chat bots and so forth, um, there's hundreds of people offering chat bots today, but the chat bots actually have a limited range of answers that they can give to you because of the fact that they are dependent upon either pre-programming by the person who established the chat bot. So all it's doing is giving you back a canned answer if you know, in a one-to-one pairing with the question you asked, which requires a lot of time and effort for training, because you have to train it to answer every possible question that anyone could possibly do. The other limitation is that they're still limited to OpenAI ChatGPT type of an answer, which is not necessarily bad, but often it's incomplete. Sometimes it's inaccurate. In some circumstances, it can be completely wrong. But it doesn't necessarily convey the information. It's a generalization if you think about it, generic being the core term here, as opposed to being specific. And as an
Yeah,
example, as we were training up on CAP, one of the funding, one example of this is a safe type of a loan, which can be converted into equity in a company, but the price point on the conversion rate is delayed until a point in the future. I'm not a fan of this type of mechanism for funding for several reasons. And yet, if you go to the general public, if you go to any of the common forms of AI online, they're going to praise safes like they're the latest and greatest and bestest type of funding thing. And yet they have so many defects in them that people don't understand and don't anticipate, that they often are getting a lot of people in trouble. So I take my information and I can train up CAP in a heartbeat with a cut and paste, where I can state something into a script, or I can take an article I've posted on my instant funding newsletter and essentially cut and paste or upload that into CAP, and CAP immediately amends its answers to reflect my thinking, my knowledge, what I'm trying to do. And so, in essence, the bucket of information that is CAP is comprised of two buckets. One is the general information that you might get from any AI anywhere online, but the rest of the information, which customizes it and brings it down to a unique perspective that matches my perspective, is the second bucket that we do by training over the top to get it to give you more precise answers, stuff that is not in the general knowledge base, is not something accessible by CAP or even by ChatGPT. But even if it were found on ChatGPT, it would take my knowledge and merge it with everybody else's knowledge, which could result in an inaccurate statement because a lot of the people who talk about raising capital don't know what they're talking about. Their answers are limited or biased to their background and experience. And therefore, you get an answer that's inappropriate or just plain wrong.
Also, look, as Zach is mentioning in the chat here, businesses have their own very specific knowledge, and it may not be out in the open, right? So it could be a manual, a procedure in a particular business, a sales process that is proprietary and that the business doesn't want to disclose. To be a marketing strategy. So all these things can be very private in the business. And we can, and that can be trained with a knowledge avatar, and it remains private. It never goes to an outside source. So if you train the knowledge avatar with your sales process, with your with your company secrets, that is fine. It stays within a very private and protected area. It never goes to ChatGPT or any other source. So now your sales force can access that at any time, just on their phone or on their computer or whatever, and remind them to be reminded of whatever it is that they need to. It could be Salesforce for real estate or for pharmaceuticals or whatever. You name it. This is stuff that the people need to learn to be able to be more effective in your business, and rather than carrying a manual or looking at PDFs or trying to go through reams and reams of content, they can access that information through a bot that gives them the answer within seconds.
My apologies, Emiliano. I appreciate you referring to Zach's comments because today, Restream, the studio from which we're broadcasting this show, is showing the comments of the audience, the questions of the audience to Emiliano, but it's decided to hide them from me. I can't see them. I would typically go into the chat room and let's see if that's not doing me any good either. So anyway, we're experiencing technical difficulties, a very common issue. And if I had a AI avatar that would explain to me how to use this particular studio software, this would be a moment in the middle of the show where I would go to the avatar and go, hey, how do I get the chat from the audience to show up as it's supposed to show up on my display screen so I could respond to it and I could present it on the screen? But it's being problematic at the moment. And as I switch viewpoints on this, it's not making any difference to me. So back to where we are at, and my apologies to the audience that I'm not able to see or respond to comments right now. So we'll keep playing with that. But so with this, I think the thing I want to get people to do is I want to come from this overview of just-in-time education that we can build tools such as AI Avatar to give somebody a precise answer to a question in the moment when they need that information. And you referred to a surgeon as an example. He's in the middle of surgery and he may come across something he didn't anticipate, something that wasn't supposed to be there. Now, we train doctors to an exhaustive limit because when they're in the moment with the person open in front of them in surgery, they kind of have to know everything they need to know when they places them in a difficult position because if something surprises them that might be at the periphery or completely outside their zone of knowledge, who are they going to go to get that information
Right.
at the moment? Now, that's an extreme thing, but I, as a business person, every day face situations where I want information. It should be available to me. I'm not performing surgery, so to speak, but it would be nice to have that information at my beck and call, where it's at my fingertips. I can just say, hold on a moment, and turn and seek an answer to the question that's on my mind. And we came across this a number of years ago. We were looking at a small business investment research grant from requests from the Air Force. And they said, hey, we've got all these planes that we need to do repair and maintenance on. And the problem is the guys who know how to do that, they're all reaching retirement age. They're aging out. And we need to train a new batch of people to do all the repair work. And in a classical problem, not all the information about how to repair these planes was in the books. It wasn't in the manuals. It wasn't there. It was in the heads of the people who had been doing the work. Or they go, yeah, that's what the manual says, but the quick, easy fix or the better fix is to do this. And so legacy knowledge is lost daily. And a business on how do you get everything going in the morning? What are the passwords? How do we do this, that, or the other? What's the new procedure for taking a sales lead and moving it through the sales channel? And as people leave the business, quite often a vacuum exists as they leave because this knowledge was never captured. It was never put in a position where it could be shared with everyone within the organization. And as I have worked with different groups, particularly in raising funding, this is part of my challenge where I say, okay, I have a small business. They have 4 people on their management team. Collectively, they may have 1 or 2 prior experiences with raising funding, which may have little or nothing to do with what we're going to try to do today. And I need to get this information to them, but it has to be integrated into their business operations. So if I say, hey, well, we need to get a investor candidate into a customer relation management software, and they go, fine, but I'm talking about using Zoho and they're talking about using Folk or some other CRM. We have a communication issue immediately.
Yeah.
I don't know how to enter that information. So Emiliano, basically, what do you see are some of the most practical, common applications for just-in-time knowledge in a small business? That things that any business leader should be looking at, thinking about, working towards, collecting, storing, and making this knowledge available either to themselves, to a prospect, to a customer, to a
Yeah.
vendor supplier.
I think one of the things that we have to realize is that you're right. A lot of that information remains in the heads of the experts who are aging because it's so difficult to put it down someplace else. Writing it down, creating a document, creating a manual it's a difficult process, and there are experts who do that, and those experts are very expensive. But you can't have it. You can't do it with everybody in the organization. Uh, just not too long ago, some people at IBM gave me a tour of their archives, and it was quite a fascinating experience to see the first IBM 360 and some of the first PCs that were created and invented. But a lot of that knowledge that they have about their history um, is lost, and people are still looking for maybe an old poster or an old document or an old manual. In fact, I saw the patent of the IBM 360. It's about this thick. It's about 3 feet high. Really, seriously, maybe not 3 feet, but 2 feet. It's about 2 feet high. That's how thick the patent was for the IBM 360. But all that information, it's hard for organizations to record that and keep it organized. But with AI, we could do that much more easily. With a knowledge avatar, you can put in content. It doesn't have to be beautifully written. It doesn't have to be beautifully formatted. The bot will do that for you. The bot will rewrite it in a way that's grammatically correct, and it will present it with an attractive voice and with maybe an attractive look. So that is one of the advantages of this technology. And the people are using AI today to help them write documents and help them write papers. But in the case of a knowledge avatar, the bot is using its technology to reformat and and actually to make sense of what it is that you put in there. So sometimes if you're not so clear in how you enter the content, it does a very good job of making sense of it in a way that it maybe that even you don't understand. So it has a very good inference engine, in other words. So those are the advantages of having a system like this. It enhances our capabilities and makes it much more possible for us to record and store our knowledge and our histories. It could also be used for personal histories, by the way.
Yeah,
But
and I have found that um, at this point in the evolution of the AI avatars, that my ability to train it to transfer what's in my head into these avatars is extraordinarily quick. As an example, we're doing this show today. I'm going to get a recording in an MP4 format for this, and I can take this and have another piece of software break it down into a transcript as though I had somebody taking shorthand or translating every word that we're speaking today into a script. And then I can cut and paste that over into the avatar by simply uploading a Word style file or text file into the avatar, and immediately the avatar is up to speed. And if you have a business where you have all these different procedures and practices and so forth, and you don't have a manual, you don't have a instruction set for how to do it, all you have to do is basically turn on any video conferencing software and talk through it. You're saying, okay, today, this is how we open the office in the morning. So here's the passwords to open up or turn on the computer or the cash register or whatever it is. Here's the things that have to be done for safety purposes, for security purposes. Here's the process we go through to make a hamburger. So if we're working in a fast food joint, you go, well, what is the process? What's the mechanism? And if next week we change that process, all we have to do is say, here we go again. I'll just turn on a video camera, record it, download all the information, and transfer it into the avatar. And now the avatar can share it with anybody who wants to know how to do this particular process. So before, we had this gap between I know it, but how do I get it, so to speak, into the avatar? And that problem has been solved.
I'll give you another example. A very good use case is car manuals. Now, every car has a manual. They still have manuals. It's a one industry that they definitely have a manual. There's enough complexity in a car. I mean, you don't have to be a mechanic anymore to run a car, but you have to know enough to even something that's just changing the entertainment system or or what do you do in the case of a tire, or if your battery is dead? So there are those kinds of questions, and and as ridiculous as this sounds, a friend of mine recently left my house, and their battery was dead because they left the lights on the car by accident. And so during the 3 or 4 hours that they were at my house, the battery was dead. So so we wanted to look at so I had a battery system to jumpstart the car. So it's okay. Look, pop the hood, please, and we'll get it. We'll get it jump started for you. Well, she couldn't. She didn't know how to pop the hood because she never had to. Because in the past, she's always taking the car to the garage, and they popped the hood for her and did whatever they needed to do. So, so I look at the car. Usually, this little lever right near the steering wheel where you pop the hood. Couldn't see it. Okay, it was dark, but I still couldn't see it. We get some flashlights. Can't see it. How do you pop this hood? It was like a 2023 car. It was pretty relatively very new car. And so now we're four people looking at this car, looking for this button or lever at this near the steering wheel. We know it has to be there someplace. Four people, by the way, with at least two PhDs and two master's degrees, and we could not find the the bloody lever. So we take out the manual, start looking through the manual. How do you pop the hood? And it says, oh no, we we find it in the manual, and it's somewhere on the steering wheel, but we still cannot see it. And then finally, one of us crawls underneath the steering wheel, and it was way back there, somewhere in the back, and then, maybe they purposely hid it so that the general population don't pop the hood. I don't know, but the main point, it took us about half an hour to finally pop the hood, and then jump starting was easy. So really, the message here was, if I had a QR code on my dashboard where I just pointed to it and got a knowledge avatar for this particular car, I could have asked it, how do I pop the hood? And it would have given me the answer within a second. And in fact, that is what I'm doing now with my car. I'm actually transcribing my car manual, because as I need something, and it takes me 20, well, maybe not 20 minutes, or 10, 15 minutes to look it up, I put it into my car's knowledge avatar, so the next time around I don't have to look for it. And so, for example, what kind of oil do I need for my particular car? How often do I need to change the oil? How many miles do I have to change it? And things like that. So now my life is easier. But that is where a car company can benefit from a knowledge avatar, and also add things like, if there's a recall, instead of spending millions of dollars sending out recall notices, you just update the knowledge avatar and say, and so somebody can ask the bot, are there any recalls? Or is there anything that I need to know about this car this month? And the bot could say, yes, there's a recall for your whatever, and for your steering wheel. So
This is, I think, a wide open opportunity. I have a virtual assistant, Gifty, who's based in Ghana, Africa, and she's working with me on helping me set up and install and maintain half a dozen different software programs that I'm using. And we recently started experimenting with Opus AI, not to demean Opus AI, but like lots of new software, they put it out there on the market, and how it works or how you utilize it, and particularly utilize it well, isn't necessarily explained all that good. And as a consequence, she's learning, I'm learning, and we're both working together to try to become masters of this particular software that can take a long form video, which would be a recording of this program or something else, and break it down into short video clips that are on single concepts or topics. The instruction sets all too often are incomplete, or they're going, go to this YouTube instructional thing and you watch it, and it's moving at 100 miles an hour, through the process, you're going, wait a moment, I got to hit pause and go back and forth to say, what did they say again, and what did they mean? To me, this is an area where customer support is being left in the dust, and it needs help. And creating educational programs that can help you get the information you need, because as you just described it, Emiliano, you wanted to pop the hood. You didn't want to change a flat tire, which I actually had to do and had to get out the manual last week. Uh, again, because
I have a story about that too.
Yeah, I couldn't find the point to put the jack underneath the car because it was dirty and muddy underneath, and there was no red, sticker saying "put the jack here." So
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure it out. So I see so many points where, with the new tools available in education, we can make our own life better, as you described it, where, yeah, I got a recall notice sitting here on my desk for my vehicle. And I think I've received 10 of them this year because I haven't responded to it yet. And they're spending all this time and money, where if they knew I existed and they could send it to my personal avatar, which I haven't set up yet, but if I set up my own avatar, it would know that I needed to do this. It would be part of my dashboard in the morning when I would get up, and my avatar would go, "You have 4,000 things to do today."
Yeah.
And we're going to help you prioritize these based upon what you want to do, what puts bread on the table, so to speak, and which are safety concerns or other concerns that we need to know about. We're going to move towards a highly personalized, customized capability of having these tools available to us. And education, as we're now redefining it, is no longer the industrial process, but it's personalized, it's bespoke, it's just about us, for us, which makes it more efficient, more pertinent, and more useful than giving us a manual in print that's hard to understand. It's black and white. Typically, it's certainly not 3D. And so when you want to look underneath the steering wheel for that lever that had to be there, why isn't it easier than this?
Right.
Why can't we take advantage of these tools and make this better for our customers when we send out a product that needs a little help or instruction, and make things better for everybody?
So just you brought up a possible scenario, which is like that the information goes from the car company to your personal bot. That's a possibility. Another possibility, which is what companies can do right now with knowledge avatars, is they can have their own bot. So they can have the Honda CRV bot. They can have the Subaru Impreza bot. So inexpensively, every company and for every car or every product can have its own bot. The QR code on the product, let's say it's a Xerox machine or a money sorting machine or whatever it is, would give the person access to that particular bot. And then the bot, the beauty of that is that the bot immediately knows the context of what they're talking about. So as soon as you press that, you click on that QR code, or take a picture of that QR code, the Subaru Impreza bot comes up and says, "How can I help you? I'm the Subaru Impreza expert." And you, you can say, "Well, how do I change the tire?" Well, it'll tell you. Go to the back. All the equipment is in the trunks area, and it'll give you details. So that is how I envision it at the moment, so that you have everything isolated. For example, right now I have a bot, a medical companion bot, that will answer questions about your medical any medical question that you may have. I have a wine and food pairing bot that will answer all kinds of questions about wine and food. And upload it, or when I go to it, immediately it knows we're talking about wine and food, so I can so it knows the context of the conversation, and so it's not going to try to talk to me about cars. You know, it will. So I just start off the conversation with, I'm baking some
Well,
sand. Right?
and
What would you
think,
recommend that I drink with it? Yeah.
yeah, you think about it this way, you've got like Progressive Auto Insurance, just to call out an example.
Yes.
They work so hard to put a person that they can relate to, or State Farm. Was it Jared with State Farm or whatever it is the guy who answers all the question about State Farm insurance questions.
Hmm.
They're trying to build brand by having him stand up and tell you about the attributes of their insurance packages. If you bundle with Patrick Mahomes, then you get a better deal. But if they were to take the same personality that they're using to promote their product and use it to answer questions about their product, they would be creating a better bond, a better relationship with their customer on the backside of the sale, which would create greater comfort, greater benefit to
Absolutely.
them.
It's a total nightmare. I need information, some details about my health insurance, and I want to go and I want to look it up, and it's a total nightmare. I'm, I procrastinate doing it because I know it's going to be an hour of my time, which I don't have, and it inevitably will lead for me to call somebody where I'm going to be put on hold, and then finally get to somebody who may give me the answer. The answer they probably have the answer, but they're not only is it wasting my time, but it's also taking up. It's an expensive process for the insurance company, and so that's why we're here to promote this concept of AI knowledge avatar bots, because this is all proprietary information that you want out there, and that you want to, if you have if you're customer centric, if you want your customer to be your customer or your patient to be happy and to get the information that they need, then this is a technology that allows you to provide that, and we need to, so we're here to promote that concept.
Yeah, and this is the thing I want the audience to take away with them today is if you're doing anything that requires bringing the other person in the conversation up to speed to understand better what you're doing. So, as an example, if I'm pitching an offering, one of my clients is pitching an offering. Well, who are they? What's the bio on all the leaders of the management team? What is the marketplace that they're going into? What are the trends in that marketplace? This is all information that by regulation, by law, has to be disclosed to a prospective investor. And by doing that, it helps the investor candidate make a better decision whether they want to invest or not, to choose a particular business to invest in or not. All this information could be provided in a more straightforward, I will call it, better relationship building format than what is currently done. And when we start on the sales side of things, we go through operations, we go through customer support and service on the backside. These are all opportunities to provide education which will benefit the relationship between a business and its customers or prospective customers. Because they're going, yeah, I could buy that thing over there, but it would take me 2 weeks to figure out how to use it. Or I can buy this product because I've got onboard real time, just in time education available to me. And I don't think businesses fully appreciate the competitive advantage that they can achieve by bringing education to the forefront and making it part of the ongoing relationship between them and their customers.
Yeah, you want to have happy customers, and a lot of customers have questions, and they don't have a way to get those questions answered unless they invest their time, more time. Uh, Content that is on a website is often not as well organized as it could be. It's updating it is complex. How often do you find the information out of date on the website? It's quite it's quite normal actually. It's more normal to find the content of a website not up to date than for it to be up to date. Editing videos is expensive. Creating a video is expensive. Then changing the content in a video is also expensive. So it often doesn't get done. And that is
Yeah, and this is, I said, the technology has changed because we used to do these, again, batches. We would segment stuff out. We'd have to go through massive framing to get everything in the right order at the right time, and it was out of date almost, well, probably before we even finished the project. We can now do short bits of information. We can put them into AI in a way that it can sort and sift and improve the structural organization of the information and keep it current at the same time. So I just see so many different ways that businesses can take advantage of this type of technology to improve their business, improve the lives of the people on their team, to improve customer satisfaction, that everyone should rethink what they're doing, how they're doing it. And anyone who's engaging in fundraising, I'm going to double underscore the need to create better mechanisms for sharing information about a pitch, about the benefits of the investing, about how a person completes an investment, the entire investment process, rather than leaving it to an investor candidate to try to figure it out, because along the path, they will take the easier path. They find something that's easier to understand, invest in it instead, an easier process to make an investment, they'll invest in that instead. And you're in a competing market for money every time you go out raising funding. So you're going to see a lot more of what I'm doing. I offer to the audience the opportunity to go to CAP, use the QR code, experiment with this. This is, take a few minutes to get to understand the potential of having a ready to go, just in time educational source on anything to do with your business, anything to do with the topic of your business, and use that to your advantage. So, Emiliano, thank you for being with us today. I think we've made a dent in the topic. We've got a lot more that I think we could get into, but I appreciate your sharing your work and the work that you have done with myself as I try to figure out how to best make education a part and parcel of everything I do, and to make it easier, quicker, and up to date. So we go forward. Any last thoughts you'd like to share with the audience before we call it a day?
Only that if anybody contacts me and mentions your name, I will give them a very nice discount on the onboarding of creation of their own knowledge avatar, and they can then within maybe a few days have a knowledge avatar that they can already use with their clients. So that is that's the I think I like to hear more from people what they need, and
Yes.
love to
So
provide them.
you can go to knowledgeavatars.ai, right? That's
Correct.
the URL. And as Emiliano just said, I'm now valuable more than I was this morning when we started this show, because if you mention my name when you contact Emiliano, that will make you eligible for a discount. So thank you for that, Emiliano. I appreciate increasing my value all the time, and I'm going to add
My
that to the
pleasure.
stack. This show is done every Tuesday. Next week, my guest will be Adam Kemper, who's with a marketing firm that really gets engaged in helping people tell their stories in an effective manner. So look forward to seeing you next week on the Successful Funding Show. For those of you who like to read things, I put out a daily newsletter called the instant funding on LinkedIn. And for those who like a condensed version, they can read the entire week's compilation once a week on Sundays. So you have a choice between daily or weekly editions. Thank you for being with us today. I apologize that once again, our adventure did not include the ability for me to see the comments from our audience, and I'll see if I can get that fixed, or it will not reoccur by next week's program. Thank you, Emiliano, and
Thank you.
thanks to everyone.
Have a nice.